And good morning, everybody. Welcome to Chalk Talk. I am your host, Kim Davis. Happy October the 5th, right? What a time this is. It has been so you guys heard me talk last week about how this is one of my favorite times of year. Like I love the fall as much of a fall season as we get in Houston, but I also love it for what it means for sports, right? Everything is happening. So this is what's going on. Tonight, the Houston Rockets will host their open preseason. So it's the first preseason game. Last week, they had training camp in Galveston. We'll talk about a little bit of that. The Houston Astros are preparing to open the American League, their playoff series, the ALDS. They'll host Chicago, the White Sox on Thursday and Friday before having a travel day on Saturday and then going to play in Chicago on Sunday and then, if necessary, Monday. So you've got baseball happening. And then, of course, there is the NFL, right? There is the NFL season going on. The Houston Texans are trying to regroup after getting shut out, really blown out, 40 to nothing against the Bills in Buffalo this past Sunday. And if I could say the game was really worse than probably the score indicates, I think that might be accurate, right? So, a lot is happening. A lot's happening. So, on today's show, I'm going to let you hear a little bit from Dusty Baker before the last game of the season on Sunday. We talked a little bit before they played the final game against the A's. The Astros won that game. There was an emotional time with Carlos Correa where he went out before the rest of his teammates, so the crowd could really just show some love to Carlos. So that was really cool and pretty exciting to see for him. Uh, and then Dusty took him out in the ninth inning so that he could come off the field and give the give the Astros fans another chance to really celebrate Carlos and what he's meant to this team and what he's meant to the city. And so I did a show on Sunday night, the Sports Extra show with the guys on 11, and the question was asked: Is that was the move that Dusty made? Taking Carlos out early, was that something that is a sign that maybe Carlos is not going to be here? And I had people text me say, "Hey, why is Carlos Correa leaving?" So here's the deal: we don't know if he's leaving. There's a really good chance that he might. He will be a free agent after the season, and so if Jim Crane is not willing to open up the checkbook and commit to him financially and long term, then he probably won't. He probably won't be here, right? So we'll see what happens. And I think it because that could Sunday could have been the last regular season game that Carlos Correa plays as an Astro in Minute Maid Park, and so that's just it was good to see, classy for the organization and for Dusty, and as Dusty said after the game, Correa deserved it. Like he and these fans have grown up together, and he really wants to stay. He and his wife both want to be here, but it is a business, and everyone recognizes that. And he said right now his focus is really on getting through postseason and bringing this team in the city another championship. That's where his head is. And then after that, of course, it will be postseason and we'll see what happens. So that is what happened with Carlos on Sunday. One of the things Dusty also talked about before the game on Sunday was just really looking over this season and some of the things that were challenging, getting through this season. He talked about how in April, when you look at the calendar, like this seems so far away. Now they're here, they're in postseason, they won the division. Dusty is the only manager to win a division with five different teams. And so kudos to Dusty. And you guys have heard me say it. I've been on record as saying I am pulling for the Astros. Obviously, I'm a Houstonian. I cover this team. I'd like for them to win a championship, but I really, really, really am pulling for Dusty, right? I really would like to see Dusty get a chip, get the win a World Series, and then be able to go off and retire. Not that he hasn't had an amazing career anyway, but that's just what I would like. Here's Dusty visiting with us before the game on Sunday.
Probably the strength and resiliency of this team. To see last year, there were no fans, and their tell you, it was horrible. You know what I mean? It subsided some. Even though we hadn't been in LA or New York in a while, but it subsided some. I mean, it was like there was a lot of like anger and just overall hatred towards this organization. I've never seen so much anger. That's shocking.
Is that something you learned?
So that was Dusty Baker talking about what it was like, traveling throughout the season. And one of the things he also said that you didn't see on that clip, he said that it was really, he said, like no one else has ever done anything wrong. That was, last year there were no fans, and so this year the fans were there, and the team had to really go through that the entire season. And here's what I'm going to say, and then I'm going to be done talking about it. I just am so surprised. I guess I'm surprised at the vitriol the Astros received. Right. So they were punished. There was cheating. You shouldn't cheat. I get all of that. But to act as though one, it's never happened any other place, especially because, oh wait, the Red Sox were also found uh, guilty of or of some indiscretions in terms of getting through postseason on their way to their championship. But the team people talk about is the Astros, and I always tell you guys it's because of a little bit of that East Coast bias, right? That's the hub of media, and so I just if it's bad, it's bad. If the Astros are bad, then it should be the Red Sox and anybody else who is found to have done something that's wrong. But anyway, it is what it is. It's on the postseason. The Astros will play Chicago on Thursday and Friday. I'll be there, so make sure you're following me on all of my platforms so that you can. I'll give live updates on Twitter about what's happening throughout the game. Not every single play because that's not really what I do, but I'll pick out moments and share some things and some thoughts and perspective throughout the game. And then, of course, I'll do post game. I'll go out early and talk before the game to kind of set the table for what's about to happen on Thursday and Friday, and then I'll do post game as well. And then later this week, of course, on Sunday, the Texans will play host to the New England Patriots, and yeah. But tonight, right? We're going to talk a little bit of basketball because tonight the Houston Rockets will open their preseason. It's just preseason, right? But it's the first time that I have been in an arena to see a game since 2019 because in 2020, no, that's not true. I think we saw that we saw some games in 2020, a few before the season was shut down. Um, Is that right? 2020 was like it's so tough to keep up. So yeah, it was that's not true. We did see some games early 2020. It was like March that everything shut down. So it's the first time since then that I will actually have been in an arena to watch a live NBA game. So I'm looking forward to it, even though it's preseason, which is not typically my favorite part of basketball because it's not great basketball, but it is a chance to see some young players and some of the players who obviously won't make this team because you've only got so many spots. But I'm encouraged about this young Houston Rockets team and the future of the team, and looking forward to see what they are building. And I posted something on my on Twitter, and I cover the Rockets, I cover the Astros, I cover the Texans, and we've heard this thing throughout the year about the Texans being a team that is building culture, right? They're creating a new culture, and you know, okay, so you're creating a new culture, and here's the truth: the guys that you're creating this culture with now, they won't be here when it matters, right? Like when this team is really competing, if in fact this organization, the people in the front office are able to build and create a competitive team, this is not these players now are not the ones who are going to be here in a few years. You think about it and like, okay, who might be here in about 3 years or so when this team is moving beyond the rebuilding stage to really being competitive and taking the next step. Maybe a Larry Tunzel, maybe unless they get the right offer for him. I think anybody is available, right, for the right price. So maybe him. And if Deshaun had not um, fallen out with the team, because of the contract he had, it would have been really him. Those would have been the two people that you would think, okay, they will be here beyond this rebuilding phase. So the whole talk about culture and what is the culture? So here's what I will say about the Houston Texans. And I have this conversation with people all the time when they talk about, oh, well, they should tank. I don't really subscribe to that, right? Maybe it's because I'm a competitor. I also know that I also don't believe that coaches subscribe to it or players. That's front office stuff, right? If a GM and if Nick and Jack used to be the guys that are like, we want to make sure that we can get this first pick in the draft next year. Maybe that's the conversation they're having, but coaches coach to win, right? Coaches, they didn't get to this point. And you can't turn it on and off and say, well, sometimes I'm gonna kind of be a competitor, other times I'm gonna be the kind of person that tanks. That's just not what happens. So I don't think that about David Culley at all. I don't, and definitely not anybody on his coaching staff. Um, but here's the deal. So Tyrod Taylor is still out. He's on the injury reserve, and I think he's eligible to come back in a couple of weeks, maybe. Um, Davis Mills will again start this weekend. He has started since Tyrod went out. The Texans did not go and pick up a veteran quarterback, even as a backup. So if something were to happen to Davis Mills, which you never want to see that, then what you got is Jeff Driscoll. Ugh. They would then definitely have to go out and get a quarterback, right? Because you need somebody else to at least back him up. But here's my question: when Tyrod Taylor comes back, does he step back into the starting role? Right? So there's a couple of ways you can look at it. Or will Nick and Jack say, you know what, we're not going any place this year anyway in terms of like postseason, because look at where our record is, right? They've lost three in a row. They're 1-3. They're going to play the Patriots this weekend. I don't expect them to win that game, and then I think they travel to the Colts before they play the Colts before then playing Arizona. I mean, they've got a tough road ahead of them, and so there are not a lot of wins in the future with this Davis Mills at the helm as starting quarterback. Is the decision then? Well, we're just going to leave him in and and we know kind of where we're going to finish. Is that what you do? Or do you say, well, we want to just see what he has to see if he might be the quarterback of the future? I think that you've probably seen enough to know what you have, and not that you get rid of him, but you know that you don't have your quarterback for next year, right? You know that. So if in fact this team does not go back to Tyrod Taylor as a starter, I think that tells you everything you need to know about where they are as an organization, who they are, kind of what they're doing, or whatever. So I don't know. We'll see, right? We will see. I'm curious about that, and I don't know what the answer is. I'm not going to pretend to tell you I do. So that's what I have on the Houston Rocket. I mean, on the Houston Texans. I think it's going to be interesting. The players, they're professional, they're grown ups, they're saying the right thing. We support our quarterback. All those things. But that's got to be tough, right? This defense. We when we talked to David Culley on Monday, he did say that if there is a silver lining, it would be. He was asked the question, if there's a silver lining, with the way that your defense played in the red zone, would that be a silver lining? And Coach Culley said, yeah. He said, because if the defense had not been able to do what they did in the red zone, it would have been a whole lot worse. Okay, it could have been a whole lot worse because they held the Bills to some field goals, so that score would have been worse. But they were not able to protect the ball. The Texans were not. They didn't do a good job of that. They were not able to, obviously score any points. They were shut out. And they also were not able to help the defense get off the field. So, of course, by the end of the game, your defense is going to be tired. Like, of course, they're going to be tired. I'm trying to find something that I can share with you guys. So, yeah, the defense was. I think you would absolutely say that. I think you would absolutely say that was the silver lining, if there was one. That was it in the game on Sunday. So um, I was trying to find you the final book so that I could share some numbers with you. Um, it wasn't pretty. I don't know if you had a chance to watch it. Now they were competing in the first half, but once the second half kicked in, that was kind of that was kind of a wrap, right? Um, Davis Mills finished. He completed 11 of 21 passes for 87 yards. He was sacked 3 times and intercepted 4 times, and he ended up with a quarterback rating of 23.4. So the Texans just couldn't really get it together on Sunday. They really couldn't. Um, it was not their finest outing, right? I'm going to tell you the final team stats. So the Texans only had 6 first downs, and they finished with a total of 109 yards of offense. 109. You don't win many games like that. You really don't. Time of possession, they were for the Texans was 21 minutes and 45 seconds, and for the Bills was 38 minutes and 15 seconds. Just a few little things to give you a sense, some perspective about the game on Sunday, in case you didn't watch it. So they play the Patriots this coming week. It's going to be tough, and we'll see what they have. I had somebody ask me, "Hey, why was it that Brandon Cooks? Why was why did David? Why was Davis Mills only throwing to Brandon Cooks?" Said because Brandon Cooks is the guy that you figure if somebody can make a play, it's him. What other receiver do you have right now that's active on this team that you figure can go up and get it, right? It's Brandon Cooks. And so Davis Mills knows that. But listen, so does the other team, which made it a really long day at the office for the Houston Texans. All right, so let's go to basketball. I told you that the Houston Rockets will be in action tonight. Um, uh, And as I mentioned, the culture piece about the Houston Texans, and I'm not really sure. We keep hearing them talk about culture. So when I talk to the Rockets, when we go to practice or training camp, and you talk to Stephen Silas, the head coach, or Rafael Stone, the general manager, no one's talking about culture, right? But they're doing it. The situation with John Wall and the organization. Uh, is really kind of textbook for how things should go, right? So John Wall is a veteran. He's got a big contract. He'd been out of the league a couple of years with injury. He came back last year to play for this Rockets team, and the team, the bottom kind of fell out, right? We know what happened. Harden left, and there was COVID, and there were injuries. Christian Wood looked good, but he had injuries. It just the team ended up being in a spot in a lottery, right? They were able to get Jalen Green, who I think is going to has a lot of upside for them. They selected Jalen Green with the second overall pick. I think he's going to be exciting to watch. He is still young. I mean, he played a year in the G League, but he's got a lot to learn about this league, and so do many of their very, very young players. They've got some guards that they want to see grow and play, and they need to see a Jalen Green and a Kevin Porter Jr. and they need to see these guys play together. So you have John Wall, and do you say obviously John Wall's a veteran, he'd be a starter, but does that help you long term for what you're trying to do with this team? And the answer that the team collectively came to, along with John Wall, is that's probably not the best answer for all of us long term. So John Wall is really going to be kind of a mentor this year. He's working out, so he's ready if a team calls and says we want to make a deal for John Wall. He's able to step in and be ready to play. But he's teaching these young men on this basketball team what it means to be a professional in the NBA, what it means to play the position. He's helping them on and off the court. He's agreed to do that. And so the fact that he and the organization were able to have conversations about it and to come to this decision collectively and then to talk about it together, right? So at media day last week, and you guys heard me talk about it a little bit, but I just think it's worth reiterating because I just think it's textbook how things really should be, right? You don't see this a lot. And, Rafael Stone said something that was really interesting about John Wall. He said, he's a grown up. He's a grown up. So they were able to have these conversations. He said, we'll keep having conversations. And if there's a right fit that makes sense for, a situation that makes sense for John and for us, we'll do that. And somebody asked him, why not just would you consider buying out his contract? And he said, no, he's part of our team. Well, first of all, you can't say that you would buy out the contract, right? Because then everybody else, anybody who may have considered making a deal for him won't. They'll just wait, let you buy out the contract, and then they just get him for nothing. You can't ever say that. But who knows what will happen, right? This team is young. They're going to be competitive. They're going to be fun to watch. They're not headed for a championship just yet, but they've got something to build on, and they seem to have the right people in place. They've got a general manager who is, by all accounts, seems to be a man of integrity who knows the game and has honesty, knows basketball, right? That's important. And then you've got Stephen Silas, head coach, who's got a lot of basketball history, right? He's got one season under his belt as a head coach, and what a season that was, right? He came into the Rockets, got the job, thinking he's coaching Russell Westbrook and James Harden and the rest of the group, and then the bottom fell out. Russ was gone, but okay, you get John Wall, right? If he's healthy, John Wall's a really, really good player, and then Harden is out. And then the drama that was around Harden leaving, and then COVID, and just all those things that happened last year, and then injuries. And so what I will say is these players respect Stephen Silas. And if you followed the Rockets last year and you saw how this team played and competed late in the season when they had no shot of going to postseason, right? When they were headed for the lottery, they were still playing and competing. That speaks a lot to not who just the players are, but who Stephen Silas is as a coach and what he was able to get out of those men last year, right? And so he's building a relationship with them on and off the court because that's what's required. That's necessary, if you're going to build this team, especially with young players, there's so much they don't know. So I just think it's going to be interesting to watch. And so I have a couple, everyone's looking forward to, actually playing a game, right? Because you've been scrimmaging against one another, you've been practicing 5-on-5 or whatever you're doing, and it's good now to suit up and play someone else. So tonight, it's will host the Wizards in a preseason game at the Toyota Center. And here is Stephen Silas.
Compete. I want to see him play fast. I want to see him kind of adhere to a lot of the defensive things that we've been talking about and the schemes and where you need to be on the floor. Hopefully some of that carries over from practice to game, but I know there will probably be some butterflies and there will be some mistakes that are made that we'll learn from. So just looking for us to just play and have fun, and we'll learn from it, whether it's we're playing great or not. But it would be good to see a lot of carryover from our practices to our
Coach. So I asked him what he wanted to see tonight when they take the floor when they play in this first game, and that was his answer. And so he also we talked about the carryover. It is really kind of cumulative when you have young players, right? Because you're doing a lot of teaching. And so you're putting in the system, and so they've worked a lot on their base defense, and you're just adding stuff because you want to make sure that you're not overwhelming them, that they're getting it and they understand what the plan is. Like the playbook's not going to be huge tonight, but you can see how much of what we talked about and we worked on in training camp has carried over into this game tonight. So he talked about that a little bit. Here's some more from head coach Stephen Silas.
So I talked a lot about routine with the guys today, and for younger guys, it's harder to get a routine. Like, when are you going to eat? How long is your nap going to be? What time do you get to the arena? Who are you working out with? How long are you going to work out for? What are you doing when you get to the weight room? When are you going on the court before the game? All of those things are new for these guys. So setting a routine sometimes takes a little while, and tomorrow will be the first day.
So, right, like think about it. These guys have to figure out, what do you do on game day? Everybody has their own routine, and the veterans talked about that. Like they've got to come to their own. What time do you come to the stadium? What is your routine? What do you eat on game day? Do you nap before? You got to figure that out because it is a long season. It's an 82 game regular season. They're back to backs. There's a lot of travel, and it's just it's a different road now. And so there's a lot that they have to learn. And the fact that he said, yeah, we have to talk about those things. And we had to talk about routine as well. Here's more from Stephen Silas after practice yesterday.
As far as how we want to play, like style of play, I would say our playbook is going to be pretty slim tomorrow night, just because I haven't put in a bunch, but I want them to get comfortable playing with each other, and having a bunch of play calls to me doesn't promote that. So kind of having the pace and space and having little triggers that they can go to that they know well is more important to me than having a bunch of plays and defensive coverages.
What about?
So that was Rafael Stone. I'm sorry, I keep saying Rafael Stone. That was Stephen Silas. So they actually are having shoot around right now. So obviously I'm not there because I'm here with you. And so but I will be at the game later tonight and bring you what I get from the game. Like, what do we learn from this first real game with the Houston Rockets? I say real game, it's preseason, but it's a game. Like David Culley said in preseason, the keeping score is the game, but also it's a chance for them to play. So I'm looking forward to that. A few other things before I get out of here today in the news. Of course, there's the stories about the Urban Meyer stuff, right? So Urban Meyer, the head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars, it is like always some drama with him, man. So they're 0-4, and he had to apologize. I guess he didn't have to, but he did because of some photos that emerged of um, of Urban Meyer not just that, but like in a club or something with a young woman that was not his wife. So he had to explain that, and he apologized for that. And also apparently, he didn't take the team fly back with the team or whatever. And that's crazy. Anyway, so Urban Meyer is, there are people saying, oh, they need to get rid of him in Jacksonville. I hear from one of my colleagues, Brian, from a Big Sarge Sports. He's reporting that players there are not excited about Urban Meyer. They don't really, they don't really like him. And the owner issued a public reprimand of him because of his behavior on the weekend. And that's like never good, right? When your the owner said that, here's what he said: Urban Meyer must regain our trust and respect after inexcusable conduct. So, yeah, that's that's not good. He said he's addressed this issue with Urban, and he wouldn't give the specifics of the conversation, but he said, what I will say is his conduct was inexcusable. And now he's got to regain our trust. So he apologized in a team meeting. So here's the deal. Meyer didn't fly back to Jacksonville with the team after the game. Instead, he went to Columbus to visit with his grandchildren. Meyer said that he and family members went to his restaurant. Anyway, there was this video showing Urban Meyer sitting with his back to the bar in an Ohio State pullover while a young woman danced close to his lap. So make of that what you will. But you gotta fly back with the team. Like that's just not how you operate. By the way, they're 0-4. So there's a lot going on in Jacksonville, and stay tuned. I don't know if he's gonna get I need to spend more time with my family, or I've got some I'm not feeling so great to at some point in the season, or if he's going to just stick it out and get through the season. I don't know what's going to happen, but we'll keep our eyes on what's going on in Jacksonville with Urban Meyer, and we'll let you know. And so in our When the Crowd Stops Cheering segment for today, I want to talk about Kevin Porter Jr., player for the Houston Rockets, who talked about how one of the things he said that the Houston Rockets really kind of saved his life. And he's young. They brought him to Houston from Cleveland, and just the way the team has supported him, from the coach, from Stephen Silas to John Lucas, to general manager and Rafael Stone, and how they've really embraced him, and that was huge for him. And when we asked Coach Silas about that at training camp last week, he said, I didn't know he said that, but I'm glad he feels that way, because it is about more than just who they are as players on the court. You've got to care about the whole person, and I want them to know that. He said, and sometimes, and even Kevin, sometimes we talk about things other than basketball, just life. What are you eating? The beach, because you're building a relationship, right? So again, not talking about culture, but actually building it, doing the things that show that you're committed to it. So I just like who this Rockets organization is from what I can see. And they haven't even played a game yet, right? But the foundation of what they're building, and just, no one's expecting this team to be in a run for a championship this year, or maybe or even the playoffs, but that they'll just compete and be fun to watch and play hard. And the challenge will also be for Coach Silas and his staff is to keep them engaged and excited, because players like a Jalen Green are used to winning, because that's when you come from another level, you're among the best where you are, and you're used to winning, and it's different to get to a place if that does not turn into the current reality. So we will see. So stay tuned for all of that. I want to remind you that Chalk Talk is brought to you by Kimmy Treats. So go to kimmytreats.com, if you will, check it out. You can get vegan popcorn. You can definitely get the hand whipped body butter. I'm shipping that again now. We're shipping that out because the weather's gotten a little cooler. Couldn't really ship it in the summer because it's so hot here. It would melt and change consistency, and I don't have any preservatives in that product. So go there, get your product, support Kimmy Treats, because Kimmy Treats obviously supports Chalk Talk. So remember, do something kind for yourself and do something kind for somebody else. I'm going to encourage you, if you have not gotten the vaccine, to get the vaccine. There's a lot of research from real doctors and real scientists and real people that understand it. I would just encourage you to get research when you're looking at information, get it from really credible places. And I say this making absolutely no judgment about wherever you are in your decision, only as encouragement for you to really consider getting the vaccine so that it protects you and your family, and then the rest of us, so that we can move beyond this virus. It has hung around so long because we didn't stamp it out by everybody getting vaccinated, or by even most people, a lot more people getting vaccinated, right? In areas where the vaccination rate is higher, the rate of COVID and serious illness from COVID and death from COVID is a lot lower. So I'm encouraging you to do that. And remember, do something kind for yourself and something kind for somebody else. Practice social distancing. Take good care. Follow me on social media on all my platforms, Kim Davis, Kim Y Davis or Kim.Y.Davis. And I'll see you next Tuesday. In the meantime, follow me on Twitter and I'll give you updates about what's happening all over the place. Make it a great day, and I'll see you next time.